Hi, my name is ShaunHover. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my couch. I have my cup of coffee here because if you're new to this channel, then something you should know is that every week I do like a coffee date style video where it's the same as if you and I were like sitting at a cafe somewhere talking. I don't prepare really formally for these videos. I just want to talk to you as my friends. And so today I'm talking to you about my eating disorder, which is something a lot of you guys have written me asking about. And you should know that I don't currently have an eating disorder. I've gotten really wonderful, loving messages from people concerned about my weight, and I have lost weight since I've been in Barcelona, and even since I had Eloise, I lost a lot of weight right after. But I went to a doctor just to see if everything was okay. I didn't feel sick, but enough people were concerned that I went to check. And the doctor said everything was fine, and just here we don't have a car, we walk everywhere. And so I think the exercise we're getting and the food, the quality of the food is nicer here actually. And so yeah, I'm just thinner, but I'm healthy as far as I know, and so thanks for asking. But I don't have an eating disorder. I will say before I tell you about my eating disorder that I did have about 10 years ago. I'm not a professional when it comes to this stuff. So if you have an eating disorder, get help. There's amazing facilities that you can be a part of. Friends of mine personally have gone to facilities. One's called Remuda Ranch in Arizona that I know has a really high success rate. So something like that would be good, but just get help. So I hope that this video encourages you and helps you, but don't just watch this video. Go talk to somebody, okay? All right, my eating disorder. Okay, when I was like 16 years old, that was the first time that I binged and purged, which is the official language for eating too much and forcing yourself to throw up. At that time, I think my family life was going a little bit crazy. If I remember correctly, that's when my two moms were splitting up and I was just feeling really broken on the inside. Everything was changing because when my mom split up, then we moved, and it felt like a lot of loss all at once, and I think life felt kind of out of control. And then at the same time, I'm a teenager going to public school, wanting to be beautiful, wanting to be valuable. I was a dancer, and there's a lot of pressure on dancers, but especially in that world that I was in, we were all looking to LA. We wanted to be dancers and actors and models, and so there's this emphasis on the way that you look. So I think my desire to be beautiful and my desire to feel like I had some control led me to this place of having an eating disorder. I wasn't anorexic, not really. There were times when I didn't eat, but that life wasn't sustainable for me. And so I swung to the side of being bulimic, eating a lot of food and forcing myself to throw up. And this lifestyle was really something that I lived for, I think, around 2 years. I think, I don't remember exact details, but I know that for a very long portion of that time, every day I would force myself to throw up after I ate. It was bad. My best friend and my little sister both were admitted into the hospital for their eating disorders. I never was, and so I'm not sure why theirs was as severe as it was when I was really doing the same things they were doing. But for whatever reason, both of them had to spend a significant amount of time in the hospital, and I didn't. My best friend, her heart was failing. So they said that for her, if she wasn't careful, she would have a heart attack and die. My sister's wasn't like that. They put her in for suicide watch. So her bulimia was really bad, but also she was cutting herself, and there was a whole bunch of other stuff involved in her story. But I never had any of that. I did have where, I don't know if you guys know this about bulimia, but your fingernails get really weak and sometimes like yellow, and you get bloated. And what else? Oh, your hair, the quality of your hair goes bad. Sometimes you lose your hair. Sometimes your skin gets like bumpy. And so I had some of those things happen to me, and I can tell now when I look back at photos, times when I was like really bulimic, my face was puffy and I just didn't look as good. Which you should just know, because a lot of the times when you're considering an eating disorder, or you have one, you're doing it at least partially because of appearance, but reality is it doesn't make you prettier. The other thing about my eating disorder that I hated so much was that I felt like it was all consuming, and it made me really selfish, and I didn't want to be like that. But it was like, if I was having a meal with you, I would be really aware of what you were eating, and I'd also be really aware of your size. So like maybe I'd be trying to pay attention to what you're saying, but at the same time I'd be thinking about like the size of your legs and the size of your waist. And all of it in like a gross way of comparing myself and wondering like, how do I measure up compared to you? And that was all the time. And I remember just wanting that part to end. And I felt like even if I could finally stop making myself sick after I ate, I couldn't imagine living without that thing of like the comparison, and also at the end of the day recounting everything I ate and like going through like, well, for breakfast I had this and this and this and this, and I would do that every single day, where I always knew exactly what I ate, and yeah, it was an all-consuming way of doing life. The kind of process for me getting free from my eating disorder, eventually it had to come to this point of me being really sick of having it and realizing that it wasn't helping me, which that even takes time for some people. For me, I felt like it took a while to realize that this thing was killing me. It wasn't helping me. What happened was, it was around the same time that I was trying to figure out what I believed about God. So I was like 18 years old, and I went to this church, and the church was having this really big scandal happen. Actually, the church was like 15,000 people, and the pastor had slept with a prostitute and done drugs, and it was like a really big ordeal. And so the church was doing a fast for 21 days. They encouraged the whole congregation to fast. So I didn't really know what fasting was, but it's just this thing of like not doing something for the sake of your relationship with God, and you're like focusing on the Lord. And so a lot of the people that I worked with, I worked at Starbucks at the time, they attended this church, and they were all going to do a liquid fast, meaning they would only have soups, smoothies, and juices for 21 days. And since these guys were my friends, and I was like, well, maybe God's going to do something through this, maybe not. I don't know what I believe, but I like these people. I'll do it too. And so I did this juice, smoothies, soup fast for 21 days. And since I wasn't having really any solid food, I didn't force myself to throw up after. I could at least logically determine that I didn't need to do that because this is all I was having. And the cool thing is, I didn't realize it at the time, but through doing this fast, it like broke the habit off of me of forcing myself to get sick after every meal, because it really was a habit. Once I had done it for 2 years, it was like I didn't even have to force myself to throw up. I could just go into the bathroom and I would throw up. It would be that easy. But after 21 days of not doing that, then by the time the fast was over and I was eating real food again, it was this thing of like, now if I'm going to be bulimic again, I have to actually choose it. Do I want to choose it? And I didn't really want to choose it. And this was a time of like figuring out, who is Jesus? Is he real? And at that point I was like, I think he's real. I think I want to follow him. And so all of that was playing into this as well. Then I decided to tell some people about my eating disorder. So that's the other thing, is I talked to friends about it. And one friend in particular, she had struggled with an eating disorder before, but was like totally free. And she was a few years older than me. And she was so sweet. So we ended up doing this program together through Youth with a Mission. It's called the Discipleship Training School in Los Angeles is where we did it. And that meant that we were going to be like in dorms together at night and eating meals together during the day. And she'd be with me every day for 3 months. And so she would actually go to meals with me and like basically help show me what should go on my plate, because my mind had gotten so distorted as far as knowing what was healthy and knowing what portions were good for me and stuff, because I was just living to like be skinny, and I was just living to make myself sick after I ate. So it didn't really matter what I ate. I just knew that I was going to get rid of it after. But once I decided that I was going to keep the food in my system, I needed help knowing how much food I should be putting in and in what food to put in. So this friend helped me. She also was somebody that I would go to if I really wanted to get sick, or if I did force myself to get sick after I ate, I would go to her and she would pray with me and talk to me and we'd figure it out. So that was really good. So why don't I just give you some tips as I'm doing this. Tell somebody about it. That's really important. For me, there were a handful of people that knew, but this one particular friend was like the main one in the very beginning who was walking me through how to do this. And then, also in this time, I wasn't thinking about my eating disorder all the time. I like had hobbies, and I was looking for ways to help people, and I had been a part of this YWAM organization where they like put you in a ministry and you're doing things to help people in the city. And that was something else that helped, was getting my mind off of myself and onto other people, because when I saw the problems other people were facing, it actually helped me to realize that my own stuff was just less consuming. My stuff was still painful, just like theirs was painful, but I didn't need to focus so much on me when there was these opportunities presented to focus on everybody else. That was really good. So tell somebody, do something to serve other people. That's really good. Get a hobby because it just gives you something to focus your energy on. And then I met with a nutritionist. And again, that was because my mind was so distorted as to what I should and shouldn't eat. I needed a professional to tell me what should be going in my body every day. And then I kept a journal where I was tracking, like, am I getting enough of all of these things that they told me I should be having? And eventually I didn't need the journal anymore, but the journal even helped me feel like I had control, because bulimia had felt like I had control. So now I wasn't going to force myself to get sick, but documenting what I was eating felt like control, and I think that was good for me. I also changed the way that I talked, which Shaun kind of helped me with, actually. We were friends back at this time when I was getting over all of this, and he called me on it one time because I was shopping, and I think it was like pants didn't fit me or something. And I was like, oh, well, my legs are too big. And he was like, what if the pants were just too small? Like, why is it that your legs are the problem? Why can't the pants be the problem? And that was really helpful to realize that I'm quick to jump to me being the problem. And he wasn't like that. And since he noticed it, I was like, oh, I should switch that around. And so then I tried to just change so that I wasn't speaking negatively about myself. And that's actually become a way of life. I try not to do that unless I'm like specifically asking for help for something. I don't just normally spew like yuckiness about myself. I stopped weighing myself because it wasn't helpful. I didn't need to do it. It didn't matter. And I still live like that. I don't weigh myself really. What else can I tell you? Oh, after I ate meals, I would sit at the table and like drink a tea or something so that time when normally I would be quick to get up and go find a private bathroom, I didn't do that anymore. And in times when I wanted to, I wouldn't, because I had tea or coffee or something. And then also I changed the way I exercised, because part of my eating disorder was the abuse of exercise. So sometimes I would go, one particular occasion, I remember I went walking/running for like 20 miles because I felt bad about a decision I had made the night before at a party. And that's abuse. That's not healthy exercise. That's just crazy. But those are the types of things I did, is I would just run or walk really, really, really far, trying to like make myself feel better and trying to be skinny, and it was a mess. I think that's a form of bulimia. I don't totally know, but friends have told me that that's a kind of bulimia too, is where you eat like crazy and then you go and work out like crazy. And so I switched it in my mind to where I wasn't trying to be skinny, I was trying to be healthy and nourish my body. And that meant physically, emotionally, spiritually. And so that meant even like I eat dessert sometimes because dessert is healthy. Hanging out with friends and eating a dessert is healthy for your soul. Even if the ice cream you're eating isn't particularly healthy in that moment, it's like part of a well-rounded lifestyle. I exercise, but I exercise for the joy of working out. I feel like it's a drug that I'm allowed to take, and it creates endorphins, and endorphins make you happy, and so I exercise for my mind. I also rest, because rest is something that our bodies need, and it's something we were designed for. And so I'm not lazy, I don't rest too much, but also I don't neglect rest, because that's not healthy either. And so it just was this switch of like, I'm not going to try and be skinny, because there's a lot of really unhealthy things you can do to be skinny. My sister, for a time of her life, was only drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. She was very, very skinny, but she was completely unhealthy and dying on the inside. For me now, the shape that my body has taken is the shape that it's taken with healthy amounts of exercise, healthy amounts of rest, healthy amounts of food, and so that's the shape that I am right now. And it's just been this process of like learning to be okay with whatever shape my body takes as I pursue being healthy. And some seasons it's really easy, others not so much. I remember when I got pregnant, it was a really scary moment for me in my heart of like, wow, I don't know what shape my body is going to be pregnant, and I just have to be okay with it. And it was okay, but it's just scary. And so it was like this renewing of the mind process, which the cool thing is the Bible talks about how God is able to renew our minds. He can supernaturally change the way we think about things. And our role in it is to be aware of how we're thinking, to read the Bible, to talk to people about it, but just know that it is possible to live free from all of this stuff. And for me now, I don't worry about it anymore. It's not like an all-consuming thing, even in the slightest. I feel like I'm pretty normal. I don't want to not take care of myself, and I still have normal insecurities and whatever. but it's nothing like it was when it was this all-consuming, horrible process. And something Shaun said to me along the way, this was probably a few years after I was bulimic, but I was still struggling with the mentality of bulimia. And he said, the enemy, so I believe in the Bible, right? And the Bible teaches that there's an enemy of our souls, just like there's God. There's an enemy too who's actively working against us. And he said the enemy only uses what works. And so he's like, the more that you reject this thing, the more it won't work, and then the enemy's going to have to change up his strategy to get at you. And I thought that was pretty interesting. It makes sense. It's not like today, if someone walked in and offered me cocaine, I would say yes. So the enemy's probably not going to work hard to like offer me cocaine daily, because it's just not going to work. But if I'm not aware of how I'm thinking, some thoughts could come in that would say I'm not beautiful, I'm not valuable, I'm not enough. Those things, if I'm not fighting against them, they work on me. And it's that kind of thing that then brings me to a place of having an eating disorder. So back in this time, I chose to really reject these thoughts whenever it would come up and be a temptation, like to force myself to get sick after eating, or to skip meals, or to exercise too much. I would reject them, and I really reject them as if they were coming from an enemy, not from myself. And the more that I did that, the more I felt like it got easier, and the thoughts weren't as loud. And yeah, it really did work. So I don't know, I hope that stuff helps you. Talk to friends, see a nutritionist, get help professionally if you need it. Create new healthy habits, look for ways to serve people. And really, if it comes down to like being beautiful, if it's like, well, I have this eating disorder because I really want to be beautiful, which I resonate with. That was me in a lot of ways. Eating disorders just aren't beautiful. They make you selfish, and selfish people aren't beautiful. And so if it's about that, then I would encourage you to like meditate on and think deeply about what makes a person beautiful. If you make a list of the most beautiful people in your life and what makes them beautiful, even if you know their physical appearance, I promise the things that make them beautiful to you are not going to be the way they look. They're going to be the way that they love people, the way that they listen, their generosity. Like, those things are what make you think people are beautiful. So try and develop those same qualities inside of yourself, and physically you'll probably take on an even more beautiful manner, because that's just how it works. But focus on those things, and focus on being healthy and nourishing this body that you've been given, because it's a really good body and it's doing really good things, and it's just this miracle body that you have. And we just need to learn how to love it and take care of it. And so, yeah, that's all I have to say. If you have anything to add to this conversation, leave a comment. If there's more that you want me to talk about, or questions that you have now that you've heard all of this, I'd love to continue talking to you about this. And yeah, just thank you so much for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'm really thankful for you, and I'll be praying for you guys, and see you really soon. Okay, thanks so much. Bye.